Everyone, let's talk about something that honestly trips up a ton of teams when they move over to an agile way of working, and that's architecture. How do you possibly build a strong, scalable product in the fast-paced world of Scrum without some huge upfront master plan? Well, let's break down how Scrum actually takes that challenge and turns it into a massive advantage.
So let's just get right to it. The first big question on everyone's mind is, with no official architect role on a Scrum team, who's actually in charge? Who's making sure the whole house doesn't fall down? Well, the answer isn't a person. It's a whole new way of thinking about ownership.
And that new way of thinking, it's all about this shift in ownership. See, instead of relying on a single person, that one lone genius with the master blueprint, Scrum is all about collective responsibility. It's not about finding one architect, it's about empowering the entire team to act like one.
Think about it like this. The traditional approach is like having a super detailed map drawn out before you've even taken a single step on your journey. It's static. But the Scrum approach? That gives the team a compass. They all own the direction and the design, the map. It evolves and adapts as they actually explore the terrain together.
And this really gets to the heart of it. The people who are actually building the thing, the developers, they are the ones who collectively own its architecture. It just makes sense, right? They're the ones in the code every single day. They have the context, the skills, and ultimately the shared responsibility for its success.
Okay, I can hear what you're thinking. If the whole team owns it, doesn't that just lead to chaos? It's a fair question, but the answer is this really elegant idea called emergent architecture. It's a design that literally lives and breathes right alongside your product. Let's dig into how that actually works.
Now, this is super important. Emergent architecture does not mean no architecture, not at all. It just means it isn't all decided and set in stone on day one. Instead, the design evolves. With every single sprint, the team learns more, the product gets bigger, and the architecture adapts to those brand new realities.
So what does this look like in practice? Well, it's a really simple but incredibly powerful cycle. The team builds a new feature. That work gives them new insights, things they couldn't have known before. They use those insights to then adapt and improve the overall design. And then they just repeat. It's this constant feedback loop that makes the architecture stronger and smarter, sprint by sprint.
But of course, this evolution can't just be a free-for-all. You need some guardrails to keep everything coherent. So the best teams, they establish clear architectural principles that guide their decisions. And crucially, they set aside time every single sprint just to talk about design. This is what turns architecture from a static, dusty document into a living, ongoing conversation.
Okay, but what happens when that conversation hits a wall? A major unknown, a big, tricky, technical question where the team just doesn't know the right way to go. Well, for exactly that situation, Scrum gives us a very specific and very powerful tool.
Come on, we've all been there. We're staring at a choice. Maybe it's a new database, or a third-party API, or some really complex performance problem. You know that guessing wrong could be incredibly expensive down the road. So how do you make a smart decision without derailing your entire sprint?
You run what's called an architecture spike. The easiest way to think of it is like a mini research project. It's a focused, time-boxed experiment, and time-boxed is key, that's designed to answer one very specific technical question. You might build a tiny prototype or run some tests, whatever it takes to get just enough information to move forward with confidence.
And the whole goal of a spike is really simple. It's all about reducing risk. That's it. Its entire purpose is to turn those scary unknowns into knowns. It lets you validate an assumption before you commit to a certain path, which helps you prevent those really poor decisions that end up creating technical debt. The stuff that comes back to haunt you months or even years later.
All right, let's zoom out for a second and pull all of this together. We've got collective ownership, we've got emergent design, and we've got these targeted spikes to handle uncertainty. Why is this approach so much more powerful in today's world? What's the real advantage here?
Well, this is the big payoff. First, your architecture becomes incredibly flexible. It can actually adapt to what your users really need as you discover it. Second, it's way more maintainable because the whole team is constantly looking after it and keeping the code healthy. And maybe most importantly, your final product is aligned with real, validated insights, not just the best guesses you made on day one.
So I'll leave you with a question to take back to your own team. Is your architecture treated like a dusty, static blueprint that's locked away somewhere, or is it a dynamic, living conversation that breathes and evolves right alongside your product? Because the answer to that question really does make all the difference. Thanks for joining me.